We've been kicking other people's asses for so long, I figure it's time we got ours kicked.
Back in 1986, America went to the cinema and saw something it wasn't ready for. No heroes riding off into the sunset, no clean kills, no moral clarity, just a kid from suburbia, dropped into a jungle he didn't understand, fighting a war that nobody could explain, and slowly losing his mind in the process.
I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm so tired. I think I've made a big mistake coming here.
The film was called Platoon. It won 4 Oscars. It made $138 million. And for a moment, just a moment, it made people feel something true.
Oliver Stone didn't write Platoon in a writer's room. He wrote it in his own blood. He served in Vietnam. He saw what the movies weren't telling you. And so he made the film he wished someone had made before he shipped out. The one that might have made him think twice. The story follows Private Chris Taylor, played by a young Charlie Sheen, a college dropout who voluntarily enlists. He arrives in Vietnam full of idealism and joins his squad as a new recruit. He leaves at the end of the movie as something else entirely. The squad is split between 2 sergeants, Elias, who still has a soul, and Barnes, who lost his somewhere in the jungle and never went back to look for it. Stone wasn't making a movie about the war with the Vietnamese. He was making a movie about America at war with itself. The jungle was just the setting. The real battlefield was the soul of every man in that unit. And at the center of it all, Charlie Sheen. Not yet tabloid fodder, not yet a punchline, just a kid with frightened eyes and a face you believed. He carried the film because he looked exactly like what he was supposed to be, completely out of his depth. To understand why Platoon was a seismic event, you have to understand what America was living through. Vietnam ended in 1975, not with a victory parade, but with helicopters evacuating people from a rooftop in Saigon as the city fell. It was a humiliation. And then the country did what countries do with humiliations. It tried to bury it. Hollywood helped. The 1980s gave you Rambo. It gave you Chuck Norris single-handedly rescuing prisoners of war that the government apparently forgot about. It gave you the fantasy of a war America could have won, if the politicians hadn't gotten in the way. And then Platoon came out and said, no, that's not what it was. This is what it was. Veterans who had been silent for a decade showed up to screenings and wept. Critics called it the first truly honest Vietnam film. The critic, Roger Ebert, gave it 4 stars and said it put him through an experience unlike anything he had felt at the cinema before. The timing mattered. Reagan's America was pumped up on patriotism and Morning in America optimism. Platoon walked in and quietly, brutally said, "At what cost?" It was shocking because it was real, because the atrocities in the film, the burning of a village, the execution of civilians, weren't invented. Stone based them on things he witnessed and things that were documented. The horrors of My Lai wasn't a footnote. It happened. Audiences in 1986 were disturbed because they had been lied to, and Platoon was the truth, finally, on a 40-foot screen.
Fire in the hole!
Here's the thing about Platoon in 2026. You can watch it and feel moved by it. It's still a masterpiece. The performances still land, the jungle still suffocates you, but it doesn't horrify you the way it horrified your parents. And that's not because we're numb. Well, it's not only because we're numb. It's because the world we live in now makes Platoon look almost quaint. Platoon shows soldiers burning a village. In 2026, we have footage of entire cities reduced to rubble. Not from one war, from several, ongoing, streaming live, available with a swipe of your thumb. Platoon shows the chaos and moral collapse of a squad in a jungle. In 2026, we have documented evidence of drone strikes that hit hospitals, of algorithmic targeting, of wars being run from air-conditioned offices in countries thousands of miles from the bodies they're destroying. Barnes putting a gun to a woman's head to extract information was once a cinematic act of evil designed to make audiences recoil. Now, you can scroll past something equally disturbing before your coffee gets cold. The horror in Platoon is human. It's personal. You can see the faces. You can watch Barnes decide to become a monster, choice by choice. That's what made it powerful. What we live with now is horror at a scale that removes the human face entirely. That's harder to process. That's harder to make a movie about. And it's harder to feel.
Friggin'
I'm going to be straight with you. We were handed a world. It wasn't perfect when they handed it to us. It was never perfect. But it had structure. It had frameworks. It had the ghost of a social contract. And piece by piece, that contract got shredded. Not by accident, by choices, by the people in the rooms we weren't allowed into. They told us the wars were necessary. They told us the economic collapses were unavoidable. They told us the surveillance was for our safety. They told us the environment would be fine. They told us the housing market would stabilize. They told us our degrees were worth something. They told us to trust the institutions. It was all bullshit. And you know, we know, what the institutions were busy doing? Exactly what Barnes was doing in that village. Making a decision that served themselves and calling it a strategy. What Stone understood in 1986 is what we understand now in our very bones. The men in charge are not always the good guys. Sometimes they're Barnes. Sometimes they believe so completely in their own authority that they stop being able to distinguish between leadership and destruction. Platoon at least gave us Elias. It gave us the idea that inside the same machine, there could be someone fighting to hold on to something human. I look at the machine we're inside now, and I genuinely ask myself, where the hell are the Eliases? Who in the rooms with power is still trying? Because from where I'm standing, from where a lot of us are standing, it looks like Barnes won. It looks like Barnes has been winning for a long time, and we are stuck, dying, in the jungle he left behind. At the end of Platoon, Chris Taylor is evacuated. He's alive. He watches the jungle below him, and he speaks. He says, those of us who did make it, and I'm paraphrasing, have an obligation to build again, to teach others what we know, and to try, with what's left of our lives, to find goodness and meaning in this thing. It's a genuinely beautiful moment, and in 1986, it probably felt like a call to action. In 2026, it hits a whole lot differently. Because what Taylor is describing, that obligation, that attempt to make meaning from wreckage, is exactly what our generation was born into. We didn't have a jungle to survive. We woke up inside the aftermath. The war was already over. The wreckage was already ours. We inherited the debt, the degraded institutions, the warming planet, and the fractured politics. The algorithm-poisoned information environment, the loneliness epidemic, the housing crisis. The sense that something fundamental has broken, and nobody in charge has the honesty or the frigging courage to say so plainly. And we are supposed to build again, from this wreckage. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying, hey, frigging acknowledge what you're asking of us. Acknowledge the weight of what was handed over. Platoon was honest about the cost of Vietnam. We deserve the same honesty about the cost of everything that's happened since.
I think now, looking back, we did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves. And the enemy was in us. The war is over for me now, but it will always be there, the rest of my days.
So here we are. We've got a film from 1986 that tried to tell the truth about a war that America was too chicken shit to face. And we've got a world in 2026 that makes that film look like a warning nobody took seriously. We've got leaders who speak the language of sacrifice, while they personally sacrifice nothing. We've got systems that were designed to grind people down, and then tell them the grinding is their own fault. We've got a media landscape so fractured and weaponized that the truth has become a niche taste, something you have to go looking for, because nobody's going to put it on a 40-foot screen for you. And we've got a generation, my generation, that grew up being told to be passionate, to care, to engage, to make a difference, and then watched every institution that was supposed to reward that engagement either collapse or reveal itself to be something other than what it claimed to be. So what the hell do we do with that? Barnes in Platoon says, I am reality. He means, I am the brutal truth of what this is. Stop pretending there's something frigging noble here. Adapt, survive. You gotta serve the machine? or be consumed by it. And for a lot of people, a lot of young men especially, that message is starting to land. Give in, disengage, opt the hell out. The system is rigged, so stop playing. Protect yourself. Numb yourself. Find a corner of the world that still works and stay in it. I understand that. God, do I understand it. But here's what I keep coming back to, and so should you. Elias also knew the reality. He wasn't naive. He'd been in the jungle longer than Barnes. He'd seen more. He knew what the war was. And he still refused. He still drew a friggin' line that he wouldn't cross. He still tried. Not because he thought he'd win. The film makes it pretty clear he knew the odds. But because who you are in the dark, what you hold on to when everything is telling you to let go, that matters. That, my friends, is the only thing that's ever mattered. So here's the question Platoon leaves you with. Here's the question 2026 leaves you with. The same question 40 years apart. Barnes or Elias? Surrender or resist? Accept the world as it is and let it make you into something you don't recognize. Or refuse. Push back. Stay human. Stay angry. Stay awake. Do you give in or stand up and fight back? What will you choose? Whatever it is, choose wisely, my friend.